Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
All eyes will be on D.C. next Wednesday when our mayor, Brandon Johnson, has to testify before a House committee about being a sanctuary city and what are the beautiful benefits of being a sanctuary city. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here. Charles Thomas is in for Dan Proft. Thanks for coming in, partner.
I cannot wait to hear and see Brandon Johnson in Washington, D.C., basically wearing the jacket.
Yeah, well, he's prepared. Guess what he said he's doing? He's done his homework.
I'm going to be prepared to defend working people in this city and challenge Congress to do their job. They could pass laws right now. Instead of picking fights right now, we should be finding solutions.
Oh, really? That's what we're doing?
He, of the 6.6% approval rating,
Yes,
is going to lecture the United States of America about what it should be doing vis-a-vis the immigration situation in this country.
And you know who he's consulting? He's texting back and forth with former Mayor Lightfoot and with Arnie Duncan just to prepare, what he needs to do. Don't lose your cool. Mm-hmm. And he's also consulting the man above.
Jesus.
Yeah. He's consulting the big guy, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, he's good. He's good. That's some consult there. You need to always check in.
Exactly.
Before you do something as ambitious, is that the word?
Yeah.
As he is undertaking in Washington next week, it's going to be choice.
With more on that, and a man whose lawmakers are trying to get him removed or pass a state law that could give people the power to remove him as mayor is LaShawn Ford. He's Illinois State Rep for the 8th District. Good friend of the show. Good morning, LaShawn. How are you?
Amy, good morning, Amy and Charles.
Good morning, LaShawn. How are you, my friend?
Good.
So a lot of people always come up and ask me, why can't your mayor be recalled? I mean, I don't know if that happens to you, Charles, but people say, if I'm traveling or something, like, your mayor is so bad, why can't you recall him? So tell us why we can't.
Well, the state law doesn't allow for the citizens to recall the mayor of the city of Chicago. It would take a little tweaking of the Illinois law to allow for Chicago voters to have that power.
Okay, so how are you involved in this?
Well, my goal, and it's been my goal since 2015, to give the power back to the people to allow them to recall the mayor of the city of Chicago if they lose trust in the mayor. They shouldn't have to wait 4 years to have an election if they find it necessary that they need to recall because of the loss of trust and transparency, and maybe the city is just going in the wrong direction that may impact the city for decades to come. The city should have the power to recall. And I've tried to do it since 2015. This year, it's been very, I think, more pertinent to people that we have the power because of the current mayor. My intention then was when Laquan McDonald was assassinated by a Chicago policeman, the people asked for it then. And, being a politician that listens to the people, I filed it and tried to implement the recall at the time, but it never got called by Springfield. And I've been doing it over and over and over, and we still haven't called it.
But shouldn't there be a cause? Shouldn't you have to show cause? I mean, people elected Brandon Johnson for a 4-year term, and okay, it's not going very well. But shouldn't voters be held accountable for what they did? And shouldn't there be a cause if he commits a crime? if he is, that's the one that comes to mind immediately.
Well, that would be one reason to cause if it commits a crime that you can recall. But guess what? If that happened in Chicago, you still couldn't do it, simply because the state does not allow it. So even if a mayor of the city of Chicago is convicted of a crime, you still would not be able to recall that person. Now, there's a chance that the city council could do a impeachment. That's possible, an impeachment by the council.
Well, how is that going to work?
Recall. Right. That means, like we did, and you all remember, Charles and Amy, when we impeached Blagojevich. I think Charles covered that.
Sure.
During the time when we impeached Blagojevich. Madigan was the speaker, and we impeached him when he got indicted.
So the city council could impeach, if that's the word, Brandon Johnson, but there's no separate process to remove him by recall.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people regret that who voted for Brandon now regret it because
you think with 6.6% approval rating, 80% have an unfavorable opinion of the mayor, and I don't think I've ever seen numbers this bad for a sitting public official in any elected office. But,
well, I've read that there has never been a lower rating, but still, I would tell you, as a taxpayer of this city, I still, no matter what, whether he's going to be reelected or not, it's in our best interest to hope that he does well. I mean, we need him to do well. I mean, it all depends. Our future depends on him doing well, whether we like it or not. The bond ratings, street crime, better schools, all of that. And so, I'm hopeful that things will turn around.
I wanted to ask you about the governor delivered his State of the State, his budget address last week, basically calling Trump a Nazi and all of the 77 million Americans who voted for him Nazis. What did you make of his speech?
I am one that I try not to do name calling, and my mother often says, if you dig one ditch, you better dig two. So I try not to talk about people, regardless to what situation I'm in. But, I just think that we're early in this Trump administration. He won. Elections have consequences. Whether you voted for him or not, you may like what he's doing. You may not like what he's doing. But one thing for sure, you have to figure out how to work with this president, whether you're going to fight him or you're going to get your troops ready to deal with what's coming. But nevertheless, I don't know how my fighting with the president all the time will help me as a state representative.
It's kind of early, I think, that for J.B. Pritzker to go out here like that. I actually looked at what just news reports about Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, about Andy Beshears in Kentucky, and even Gavin Newsom in California, just to see what the news has been about those guys. And they're staying away, believe it or not, remarkably, from Donald Trump right now, because Trump is in his honeymoon, if you will. He's got all this momentum going, and JB, it's like he's having breakfast early so he can have it again before lunch. And
right.
And I don't mean anything by that, JB, but you know what I mean?
He's obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Every press conference he mentions him for something or another, and it's really, and this whole DEI, I wanted to get to this because your colleague, State Rep Blaine Willauer, from the 110th District. He's a Republican. He was on the House floor the other day talking about DEI. And are you going to comply?
President Trump, has signed an executive order banning DEI in our schools, putting an end to the toxic policies that have divided our classrooms for too long. But here in Illinois, the State Board of Education has chosen to defy that order. They've chosen to cling to an ideology that is failing our students. Instead of focusing on excellence in education, we've decided to focus on this idea of equity, where the government comes in and tries to artificially level the playing field. The results are absolutely dismal. We're spending more money than ever on education, but 3 out of 10 kids in our state can't read at grade level. And when you
That
talk
is so
about
true. And then you have the CTU on their knees or actually begging for more money from Mayor Johnson in the city of Chicago, and the grades aren't there to prove all of this. But are you going to follow Trump's DEI orders?
I mean, I chair higher appropriations, and I chair. My committee is almost a $4 billion committee appropriation for all our public universities and community colleges. And DEI is going the end of DEI is going to hurt public universities. It's going to hurt city colleges. It's going to hurt the workforce, irregardless to what race it's going to impact. It's going to change the way we do business at our universities, at our workplace.
Well, how? How is it going to change?
Because there are certain programs that are dependent on the funds from DEI-funded programs. And so those programs would have to be shut down, and those jobs will be lost. And whether you like it or not, things are going to change. And being an African-American man, I've seen how challenges have impacted my life, and we keep pushing on. But it is going to impact. So Will Howard sounds great. He's a great orator. He sounded like music. But I'm going to tell you, there has to be a reality that we all recognize that there will be some casualties with the change. And we can't ignore
consequences.
that.
I mean,
right.
But do you think DEI is still needed?
I think DEI is still needed in some way. There's no way to just go into and let me tell you, here, I'm a black man again, I'm telling you, and black people would tell you DEI is not needed. You just don't unplug a situation without a plan and a strategy. And you can, but you there will be consequences.
Can I ask you something? When do you think it's DEI, a program like DEI or affirmative action will end? When is that day that it's going to end, that we're going to have diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's going to be organic in America?
I know. That's what we need.
But is that day going to come? When is it going to come, and when do you stop? When do you stop?
Charles, that's why I said, regardless to what, he's the president, election have consequences, and guess what? We have to push on, and we're going to have to force our way into rooms, even just like we did during the civil rights movement. We have to get in those rooms.
But we're in the room. I mean, the civil rights movement was about the law, about the statutes that stopped me for a while. I grew up in a former slave state in the South. And my father, oh my God, and his father, I mean, they were limited statutorily. Now we're talking about some esoteric racism, systemic racism kind of thing. Is it ever going to stop? When is the day going to be when we don't need DEI? Can you answer that question?
Yeah, I can. I think that when we all see people and see their talents.
Do you know a date that's going to be? At what point are we going to do that? I mean, I can't.
I just feel like everyone's trying to pit white people against black people against. Yeah. And I have to tell you, as a coach, they all get along. No one. You got black, you got Hispanic. I'll have a team that there's not even a white person on. It doesn't. No, they're not there's not systemic racism.
And not only
they don't
that,
even talk
there
about that. They
is.
joke
There
around.
is.
Oh,
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
The thing is
It's
that
automatic.
But who's
not
committing
automatic, not
who's
with the kids
committing
now.
who's committing the racism? Who has privilege in the society now? I read a statistic, and I will say it, that Indian Americans right now have the highest per household income in the United States of America. Not white people, but Indian Americans. Are they privileged? Is there something called Indian American privilege now? I mean,
That's a
at
good
what
point.
point? But I mean, and
They're hardworking.
then white people will not be a majority. They say by 2040, certainly not by 2050. So people of color are going to be the majority in the country. So at what
so
point?
is that the point when DEI is not needed anymore?
Is that the point?
Look,
I don't know.
Look, we're still saying in 2025, the first black, the first woman, the first Asian.
Oh, no. I think people are saying that, but is it valid? Do we need to be
valid.
saying that
There's
at this
no,
point?
yeah.
The first black to be president.
We already
first
had
black
that.
to
Check
be
that off
vice
the list.
president.
Check that off the list.
first black person in space. I mean, at what point do we stop even saying that? I mean, that stuff.
We got to celebrate it.
But the first black to be the chairman of the board of I don't know, or Walgreens, huh? I mean,
it's a great celebration. If this organization
American
been around
Express,
100 years and they've never had a woman
to do what?
never had to lead that organization.
Walgreens, yes, it was. Black women led Walgreens.
You just brought up Walgreens as an example.
I know, but I mean, I'm saying that at what point does that stop, or does this go on for perpetuity? I know the Democrat Party would love that to happen because they make their hay that way by keeping black folks, afraid of racism to go vote for them. I get that, because they used 100 years ago they were doing it to white people.
No, I think that the Republicans and blacks that think that we don't need to recognize that certain groups are making gains, they will say you pull yourself up by your bootstraps where there are none. There is a celebration when we have diversity in places. And white women should recognize and side with black people because white women were not respected like black men. We are in the same boat. It's the white mans that have run the world, not black men.
White people right now in the world make up about 15% of the world's population. White people, Europeans, white people, right?
Right.
Yeah, but there's the world is changing. My point is the world is changing, and we have to change with the world. And we can't just focus, particularly black people, can't just focus on the evil white man. Because
you heard me, Charles. I agree with you.
We can't do it. I mean, it's a different world out here, and we got to compete at some point.
All right, LaShawn Ford, we have to leave it there for today.
Right,
Illinois State Rep, 8th District, thank you so much. You can follow him on Twitter at JusticeForAll44. That's his Twitter handle. Or X handle, excuse me. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with